Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. We're looking at Luke chapter 5. Jesus has been preaching to the multitude. They pressed on him. He comes down near the shore and they're coming still at him and maybe wanting to touch him, to be healed, to hear him better. I'm not sure why, but then Jesus, he sees two boats and one of them's Peter's boat, and he gets into the boat and says, Peter, put out a little. And so Peter goes out a little way from the shore, stops the boat, continues maybe to mend his nets as Jesus is talking, and Jesus preaches to the multitude a little while longer. And then when he finishes speaking, it says in verse 4, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. But Simon answered and said to him, Master, we've toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their net was breaking. Now, several things I see here as I think about this passage and think about discipleship and Jesus calling Peter, James, John, Andrew at this point to discipleship, to follow him. We first need to understand as Jesus gets in the boat with Simon, remember Jesus is a carpenter. His background is carpentry. Can you imagine what Peter thought when Jesus said, launch out into the deep and let down your nets? Peter must be thinking, well, just a moment, Lord, I know where you're from. I know what you did all your life. You're a carpenter. You cut up wood, you fixed chairs, you took care of things like that. You know nothing about fishing. I have fished all night long. I've toiled, I've worked all night long. We didn't catch anything, and now it's daytime. We catch the great numbers of fish near the shore at nighttime, and you're asking me to launch out into the deep, and it's in the middle of the day. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a good fisherman. I go fishing, but I know this. If I'm going to catch some fish, the best time to go is not in the middle of the day. It's usually early in the morning or late in the evening, and you catch them close to the shore is where they're coming up for some reason. I don't understand that, but Peter must be thinking the same thing. Now, I think here's a great lesson to learn. Okay, one is make sure we're listening to Jesus and we don't have a lot of buts in our answer to Jesus. But Simon Peter said, you know, I think of those people Jesus called discipleship later in the gospel of Luke, and one of them said, oh, I'd follow you, but I bought a piece of land and I got to go out and see it. I would follow you, but I bought a yoke of oxen and I've got to go and try them. I would follow you, but I've married a wife and therefore I cannot come. Now, my friend, you know, when I read that and think about that, the only guy that had a good excuse was the one that had married a wife and said he couldn't come. I mean, can you imagine buying a piece of land you've never seen it, buy some oxen that you've never tried, buying a car you've never looked at? No, we don't do that. And so anyway, then we also see, get the butt out of our answers to Jesus. But we also see, Peter said, I failed. He acknowledged, he confessed his failure. If you're going to be a follower of Jesus Christ, you have to acknowledge your weakness. Acknowledge your failure. And someone preached years ago, I heard a great message, failure plus failure plus failure plus failure plus failure plus failure plus failure equals success. And success comes when we come to the end of ourselves and we truly, by faith, distrust the Lord. And that's what the Lord's been doing. He's been teaching these disciples. Then one last lesson. Jesus had been preaching to the multitudes, but now he keys in on just a handful of men. Now, you can minister to the multitudes, but you can only disciple a few. If you think you can disciple everybody and turn everybody into a follower of Jesus Christ, you're going to probably be sorely disappointed and probably burn out. But if you take your time to disciple a few and turn them into true disciples to follow Jesus by faith, to live by faith, to do miracles by faith, my friend, you can turn the world upside down. And that's what we need to focus on. And that's teaching people to be true disciples of Jesus Christ. And if you feel like you're a failure, that's probably pretty good. You acknowledge that and say, Lord, I can't do it. And he'll always say, well, I can. follow me. Well, God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.